But when it came to meeting God, Jibril was like, this is my stop. I can't go any further. And the Prophet went on his own. So the Prophet, it shows his, this is probably like, nothing else in creation has reached that higher level. And the main reason that the Prophet was taken to such a high level was to be given the salah, for his ummah. And of the reasons of why it was 50 and reduced to 5, if you do the maths, if you really have to pray 50 times a day, and say 6 to 8 hours of sleep, you would be praying every 15 to 20 minutes. And from that you can see that it proves that we are only created to worship. And Allah says, when the Prophet came back with 5, Allah said He reduces it 5 so it might be easy. So the reduction, if Allah willed, it would have been 50, but from the mercy of Allah, it's only 5. That we only have to pray the 5 prayers, but the reward is still for 50. And some of the other reasons why Salah is important, it's first of all, it'll be the first thing that we are called to be judged upon on the Day of Judgment. And there's a hadith in Tabrani that says, if your Salah is good and all the rest of your deeds are good, if your Salah is bad, the rest of your deeds are bad. And also we know that all minor sins committed between each prayer will be cleansed by the next prayer. So, one description was like the Salah is like an overflowing river that kind of passes by your gate, and you have the ability to kind of wash yourself and get rid of all the stains 5 times a day. Yeah, that's what I had.
Yeah, it's actually Hadith Qudsi.
Hadith Qudsi.
Yeah. But actually, Surah 32 verse 17 says, and no soul knows what joy for them has been kept hidden. But technically that's not what no ayah has been. But basically it's tafsir.
I'll find out.
Using Hadith Qudsi, it's basically the tafsir.
Oh yeah, actually, it could be Hadith Qudsi, that's right.
No, it is Hadith Qudsi.
It is.
It is, but there's an ayah, 32 verse 17.
Sorry, sister, yeah. Sorry, it was a Hadith Qudsi, it wasn't in the Quran.
Can you explain Qudsi?
What's in the Quran is direct revelation. It's like the direct words of Allah through the mouth of the Prophet. What's Hadith Qudsi is the words of Allah, but through the words of the Prophet.
So preserved in meaning, but not in word. The meaning is preserved, but the actual words isn't preserved. But in the Quran, the
exact wording is the
meaning and the words of the Quran are preserved exactly.
So when you say Qudsi, what's the difference between Hadith and
Hadith of Jibril.
No. The Hadith Qudsi isn't the wording of the Prophet. It is the word of God. But it's distinguished from the Quran. It's not worship when recited. That's the only distinction. The other Hadith is revelation from God, but the wording of the Prophet is not general. The Hadith Qudsi is Allah says, he's narrating from Allah.
It is sent by Allah, but it's the Prophet's own wording.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
He's saying God has said.
Oh, it's the Quran.
He's not saying his own wording, he's narrating
No,
from Allah. God
it's,
says.
Yes.
Okay.
So,
Yeah,
But the rest of the Sunnah is his own, God has given him revelation, he puts into his own wording. But the Hadith Qudsi is, he narrates from God. But it's distinguished from Quran because Quran is worship and reciting.
but I think from what I've come across, he narrates from God.
but
he
in
narrates
his own.
But it's
There's no
not the
evidence
direct
to say
words
that
of
he
God.
narrates in his own words. What evidence do you rely on to say he?
That's what I've been taught, by quite a few scholars. Because there's a distinction between Quran, Hadith Qudsi, and Hadith. So Quran is the words and the meaning are directly from God. Hadith Qudsi, the meaning is from God, but the words are the Prophet's own. And the Hadiths, the normal Hadiths, they're both of the Prophet, even though they're sent by God.
No, the normal Hadiths of both are from the Prophet.
No.
They are revelation from the Prophet, but the meaning, the wording, is of the Prophet.
Yeah, the wording is of the Prophet.
That's the Sunnah.
Yeah, Sunnah Hadith. Yeah.
So then what's the difference between Hadith and Hadith Qudsi?
The Hadith Qudsi are all the God says, essentially. The Hadiths which start off that God says, where he narrates from God, essentially.
But if he's putting his own wording,
Yeah.
It's not narrating from God.
It's narrating in meaning,
Yeah,
but
it's
not
narrating
in
meaning,
specific
yeah.
words.
That's what I've been told, that Hadith Qudsi has that
We've
specific
never
distinction.
come across that
Yeah,
before.
we were always taught, even Usul Tafsir, there are these three distinctions, Quran, Hadith, Qudsi and Hadith.
I'm not sure the distinctions exist as three categories.
Yeah, maybe, yeah, Allah Alam.
In Surah Sajda, verse number 17, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, no person knows what is kept hidden for them of joy as a reward for what they used to do. So,
Can you look up لا تدركوا الأبصار وهو
can't search in Arabic. I've got an Arabic keyboard, but my Arabic is non-existent basically.
وهو يدرك الأبصار.
Do you guys have any questions? Any issues, clarifications?
Where's
One
this?
other question?
Does anyone have a question?
Yeah, I've got a question.
Okay.
Where's the secret Rumman in relation to Baytul Ma'mun? Is it like vertical? So I know there's an issue about the Kaaba and the Baytul Ma'mun. Some say it's directly above and stuff. But that Sidratul Muntaha and the Baytul Ma'mun, is it like above the Baytul Ma'mun or?
Well, there's no clear-cut answer. Like even with where the Sidratul Muntaha is, some say it's in the 6th, some say in the 7th. Like the way you combine it is like it starts in the 6th and it ends in the 7th. And like the very ends, because like the Sidra, the look tree, it's a tree that has large branches. So like the edges, the branches of the tree is the end of creation. So, and all we know about the Baytul Ma'mur is it's in the 7th heaven. And it's a vast landscape. So I don't know specifically where, but it doesn't have to be like next door to it.
Okay. No, it's just I assumed that it would be there.
What territory did you say the Sidratul Muntaha was?
Look tree, L-A-T-E. Look tree.
How do you spell it?
L-A-T-E. So it's basically a tree that is known for kind of like a kind of wide, kind of far-reaching branches. Like they mainly kind of grow in the desert as well. So any other questions?
Yeah, the tree is at the edge of what?
Edge of creation, all of creation. Like the ends of its branches are the very ends of creation. Yeah.
Anything living? Because you know what I mean? Because like, is it at the edges of heaven or?
Yeah, of the 7th heaven, of the very the 7th heaven is the end of creation, yeah,
Okay.
and then you have the throne of Allah. Whatever. So it's the very the far reaches, the very top branches are the very last thing that is created.
That's the limit of creation. Right?
Yeah, of all creation, so including Jannah. Jannah is in the 6th, 7th heaven.
Okay.
So why did the throne of Salah happen in that way? Did you say? Have you covered?
Why it was reduced?
No, why did it happen in that order that you kept going up and down rather than just one?
So the main, I guess the main lesson is that is to show us that if Allah will, that would be the obligation upon us. But Allah said it is 5, but the reward is 50, and the reason for this is to make things easy for us. That if you want, because we are only created for worship, and if you had to pray 50 times a day, you'd be praying every 15 minutes. So you would be only worshipping. Like the angels, they pray night and day without getting tired. We would, but the thing is, that is not because of the mercy of Allah. That is not always obligated. For us, 5 is sufficient, and the reward is still 50. But we can just do the 5, and can't do and also have the rest of our lives to do.
I don't know if you've already mentioned it. You probably have. I'm paying attention, but. Did they change the Qibla direction at this time as well?
It was after. This Qibla was in Medina. But that is an important point. Like one of the other lessons, I guess, of Isra is to connect the two Qiblas, to connect the two children of Ibrahim, to connect, kind of Isaac and Ishmael of Mecca and Jerusalem, and also give an indication of the link between the two.
So Mi'raj was after Amr Husn.
Yeah, after the year, so after the death of and Abu Talib. Is not exactly sure when, because as I said, chronology is very difficult. They didn't have a calendar, so.
Also, could you explain the heaven and paradise thing?
Yeah. So heavens are kind of created layers, I guess, in a way.
Called skies.
Skies, yeah, skies. So, and they are, and the paradise is within the sixth or the sixth heaven and seventh heaven, or somewhere. We're not sure. There's not enough authentic. Well, there's contrasting evidence. So paradise has thousands of layers, and it's contained inside the seventh heaven, sixth heaven, and seventh heaven.
Okay. So paradise are different.
Yeah. So paradise is within heaven.
So paradise is within it. Not, we don't know exactly, it's within the seventh heaven.
Yeah.
So what about the others?
We really don't know what they are. So I mean, I think we can guess at the lowest heaven, the Samad Dunya. That's like all that we can see. So all the universe, all the galaxies. That's one opinion that that's the lowest heaven. That's a part of everything that we see in this universe. It's a part of the lowest heaven.
Okay.
And the second, third, fourth.
So where did you get that information from? The sixth, seventh?
So I've got a Seerah book, and I think I've got the Hadith. But I've been using Yasser Qadi has a Seerah of the Prophet, and he's very detailed.
It's on YouTube.
It's on YouTube, yeah. So if you just press Seerah of the Prophet on YouTube, you'll find it.
Rumman, give them good couple of references so they can search up. Just make sure everyone's hearing.
What kind of references?
So mention J.F. Qadi's Seerah.
Yeah.
Mention the Seerah book we have. Mention a few other Seerah books. So if they want to research, they can still not read that.
Jurisprudence of Prophet I think Tafsir Ibn Kathir is actually online. It's qtafsir.com. People want to look into Tafsir verses. A verse that you can give them to look into. And you know, they were asking about the seven heavens. Then if you want Tafsir of that, there's the verse I mentioned, وَبَنَيْنَا فَوْقَكُمْ سَبْعًا شِدَادًا. I'm sure there's a Tafsir online that you can view. It's verse 12 of Surah An-Naba, which is Surah 78.
Guys, if you are interested, if you have any more, if you want to look more into this, I thoroughly recommend Yasser Qadi's Seerah. It's very detailed, but he keeps things very interesting. It's very academic. It's very thorough, so he quotes his sources as well. And it's for all the ones I've seen, especially in terms of videos, it's the most authentic. Like there are other scholars that I've looked into, and then kind of when I was doing the research, when I came back to them, you found they used some unreliable sources. So you had some people big scholars who did say that the Buraq had wings, and then you realize there's no authentic narration of it having wings. So in terms of getting authentic Seerah, I'd thoroughly recommend Yasser Qadi. It's on YouTube. All the videos are there. He's got probably something like 80 videos by now. It's about an hour each. So, but he lists the topics, so you can choose the topics you'd like. Also, there's a few Seerah books. I used, what's the book I used?
Noble Life of Muhammad.
Noble Life of Muhammad, peace be upon him, by Salabi.
Yeah.
Or
Salabi,
Muhammad Salabi.
There's also the Life of Muhammad by Ibn Kathir. So it's a one-volume translation by Dar al-Ishaq. Very, very good. It has a lot of academic discussions with it as well. There's another one, more controversial one is Nu'mani. It should be Nu'mani. It's called Sirat al-Nabi. That's a very good one as well.
Controversial in what sense?
On some of the like smaller stuff, it's not that big of a deal.
I heard like in terms of the English language, the best one is who's the name?
Oh, the Man and Prophet by Adil.
The English scholar, the Shakespearean scholar.
Shakespeare's
Martin
Links.
No, it's not a good one, man.
No. In terms of the writing, in terms of like, how is it approached? But you have to be careful with it.
Yeah, it's very questionable.
Well, no. Well, the thing is, in terms of like just the beauty.
It's actually purpose, isn't it?
Yeah, just in terms of like the beauty, the way it's written.
Academic, then it's another view.
Yeah.
It's not very academic, but I mean, in terms of the way it's written, the way it's presented, it's one of the best in English. But you just have to be careful with its sources. It's a bit controversial. Martin Links, it's Muhammad, yeah, by Martin Links.
Based on authentic sources.
Authentic.
That's what it's called. It's not.
A more authentic source that you can use is Jurisprudence of the Prophetic Biography by Dr. Said Ramadan
Both each.
That's the one you were giving out for free.
Yeah. That's a good one.
There's also Mufti Mink's coverage of the Seerah. He's discussed really good. I get to listen to his.
Yeah, Mufti mentioned
Banned from the.
they're shortened as well.
Yeah, I read it yesterday.
So before we finish, any more questions? Any more clarifications?
Yeah, just one.
Sorry, yeah.
When you said all the prophets prayed behind Prophet Muhammad, where was it? You said, was it Baitul something?
Beit al-Maqdis. So it's in Jerusalem. Basically, this was, as I said, when you think of the mosque in Jerusalem, don't think of the Dome of the Rock, what's there now. And at the time, there was actually no physical mosque or temple or synagogue or anything. It's actually, I think, it was probably the original structure that Suleiman built, but it was kind of, I guess, built up metaphysically, maybe, whatever, by Allah, just so the Prophet could come and visit it.
So it was built up back.
Resurrected, I guess, for that one occasion.
How do you spell that?
M-A-Q-D-I-S.
You got the Urdu one, I've got the English one. I've got it 7 more than that.
And another indication that it's, because as I said, like all the prophets were in one line. That's what some indications. So if you imagine, like 120,000 people in one line. So there is some indication that it wasn't completely physical.
Sorry, yeah.
The reason
So basically,
use it just for him. By that, don't you mean the whole thing moved together? The whole leading the people prayer and stuff. And this one and stuff like that. The other prophets didn't have that. Doesn't that mean that he's special? But it's not just that he's a gift to you.
No,
It's more the fact that he's a seal of the prophets. Part of the it's more about the fact that he was sent. The other prophets, they were sent to different times and different people. Whereas he was sent by humanity.
Well, I guess, probably something else I've got to mention, but yeah, I mean, I guess it's showing his position. Like, he is not only the seal of the Imam al-Muslim, and also, like, if you think about it, like, he is the leader of the prophets, of all the prophets. By extension, he's also the leader of their own. They'll say, they'll come to Adam and say, oh, I sinned. And then they'll go to Ibrahim and say, I told a lie. And Musa, oh, I killed. And then,
I already saw the meeting him first.
One holy one.
This is not a thought that came to me. I don't understand, he's the first person on earth. He's going to be the first person on earth.
this is also another point. There is a debate that was, is the Prophet will be the first person in judgment, on the day of judgment.
You'll go back to Boston.
No, on the day of judgment, that will be the first time again.
Announce the next week.
What?
So tomorrow we'll show you family.
And I
Okay, 1 hour.